Parenting doesn't stop when your kids grow up. It changes, and it's a transition no one really prepares us for. On today's episode, we're going to talk about how to have a good relationship with your adult children, plus transitioning to grandparenting. Not that I know what that is yet, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Grab your coffee and let's get into it.
Let's go.
You know, it's interesting because I feel like I had the opportunity to parent, but because I had my kids with me so much longer than most. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that that's interesting. It was an interesting thing for me because I think a lot of people, they parent and then their kids go off to college while they're still kids. So it's a more abrupt transition. Mine wasn't as much abrupt because my kids became adults and our relationship slowly changed as they became adults while still living in my house.
True.
You know what I mean? I'm curious though, what was what was that transition for you like as a child transitioning to an adult with your parents? Like how did your relationship change when you...
That's a good question. I don't remember much about that, to be honest with you. I'm looking back like I never gave it thought.
You never really
gave it much thought how that changed.
I got closer with my mom as I got older. I mean, we were really close, but I got even closer with her when I, left the house.
I just was out and about a lot as an adult. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't home. I worked. Home, slept, gym, back to work. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't really spend a whole lot of time with them as an adult. Felt like I was always just busy, always on the go.
You know what's funny is as a parent, you don't really know. I never stopped to think about what kind of a parent I would be as an adult. I can tell you this. I wasn't, as a parent to my kids when they were kids, I wasn't the cool parent. I wasn't the you get to drink at my house, kind of have your friends over.
Yeah.
Let me sneak that. I wasn't that parent. And I'm glad I wasn't.
No, hell no. Get you in trouble.
No, I'm not even about that. Just I feel like, I don't know. I just wasn't. I was reading something about that. Don't be that parent. Be the parent that, maybe you have that adult. I think what I'm trying to say is I think parents maybe want to have that cool adult relationship with their child before they're adults.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I didn't have that with my parents.
Did you?
For sure.
No, I didn't either. But although my parents had a weird, they weren't they were super uptight about certain things, but not about other things. They weren't super uptight about drinking alcohol.
Really?
They would let
it. Your culture.
Yeah, it's a cultural thing.
You guys freaking make your own Pruno and wines and all that stuff. So it's part of your culture.
That's dangerous too, huh?
Because you told me that at those Portuguese halls that they would let the kids drink.
You could go to the bar as a child in a Portuguese hall and order a cocktail and they would give it to you.
That's nuts.
Yes.
That is crazy.
Yes. That's when I first started.
They didn't think about liability or what can happen.
Nope.
No?
I got drunk many times at the Portuguese hall.
Or what can happen to a child being on an adult. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
I was drunk many times in a Portuguese hall. All right, you guys, before we get too far into this episode, a little housekeeping. Where's that from? It's from a show, I think. I don't know. Anyways, I think I'm delirious. Scan the QR code up on the screen. That's going to give you all the relevant links on how you can connect with us, whether it's from our sponsors or our show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, or follow us on Candidly_with_coffee on Instagram. Subscribe to us here on YouTube. Thank you guys so much for your support of our show. I think this is episode 615. Isn't that crazy?
That's a lot of episodes.
That's a lot of talking.
A lot of yapping.
That's a lot of talking. I want to know down in the comments, what episode did you start at? Or what's the earliest episode did you start? 200, 400, 610? Let us know. I'm curious.
Interesting.
Anyone been here since episode 1?
No, that's something else.
Yeah.
We have some listeners from the beginning.
So curious about that one. All right, you guys. You know what? The first thing I have to say is very important, and I think some parents struggle in this department. I think I'm pretty good at it. Respecting boundaries from your kids. It's their lives. It's not your life.
Nope.
Stop trying to make them do things, always striving to make you proud. It should be the other way around. You should be striving like you want your kids to do things that are going to make them happy. Why do I feel like a lot of relationships is like, oh, it's like the kids will just always be in this forever pursuit of trying to make their parents proud instead of trying to make themselves happy. And that's what should make their parents happy. What have I always said about my kids? If they're good, I'm good.
Yes. I should be.
I really do feel that way.
Or you got those crazy-ass parents that, especially fathers that try to like push their sons into professional sports, and they do get there, but they're just, they're trying to live through them too much because they couldn't make it.
No, like what's that guy, LeVar Ball?
LeVar
Ball?
Yeah, because he couldn't make it. He was ass in basketball. So his kids made it. So he kind of wanted their fame.
Yeah.
Like a lot of parents, some parents want like their kids' fame.
Yeah, and I think, it's important to think like what would make them happy might not be what you want for them, but that should be enough if they're happy. Do you know what I mean?
That's it.
Like
not about you.
For Alyssa to, without a care in the world on what anybody thought about it, she decided she was going to move away from home. Like that's bold, to be honest, at her age.
At her age, yeah. Got in her head that she's out.
Yeah, and she just kind of went. And was I over the moon? I was like, no, I was not over the moon about it, but I was happy, and I just was told her I was happy that she was doing something that she set her mind to do and that she executed on it.
Yeah. It's always going to make one person happy and the other one not happy. A lot of times kids hold themselves back. They become adults and they're scared to move away because they're afraid of how their parents are going to feel.
Yeah.
Happens a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it took you 49, almost 50 years to finally go bye-bye.
I felt like stuck. Like I couldn't go until this. If this happens, then this. If this happens, then that. If you have that mentality in life, there's always going to be something that's going to hold you back. Sometimes you have to just go and make do and do your best to you're never going to be able to please everybody.
Yeah. No.
But a lot of times, yeah. So that's why I said specifically Alyssa, she moved away because she was like the first one to do that. Like, I think my nephew did too, but in our circle, like my brothers and siblings, like we felt like we're stuck a little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Kind of were.
My sister moved not very far. She moved 2 hours away, and my dad was upset about it. Like he was just like, "How dare you do that?" And that made me. I remember this was years ago, but I remember thinking maybe 5 years ago. I remember thinking God, I'll never want to do that to my kids. I don't want to. It made me sad, but not all emotions or feelings have to be expressed either. They don't have to know that you're sad. Just be sad.
Mm-hmm.
Or tell them you're sad, but that you're still happy for them.
Yeah.
Bittersweet. That's what bittersweet is.
Yep.
That's what that means.
So he wasn't too happy, huh?
No. It's like we weren't allowed to do that.
He didn't want you guys to live your life away from them.
No, and I was doing the same thing, to be honest. I was kind of thinking I had to wait to leave. And then I just realized one day, I actually don't.
You don't?
Doesn't mean I don't, love my dad and that I'm not going to see him and that it doesn't change much. But I still felt like these invisible chains.
Yeah. Yeah. Listen, your parents, they lived their life. They chose what they chose. They chose to have us. We become adults, and sometimes we want to explore the world, and we want to leave the area that we're from. That's it.
I think the most important thing, though, you can learn about navigating a relationship with your adult kids, and then when they have significant others, and then they have kids, it's your grandkids, is you better figure out boundaries real quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you have to respect the way they want to parent their kids. They're not your kids. You're not the authority.
No.
Parents forget that listen, my authority over my kids is done. I have zero authority over them.
Zero.
But sometimes parents struggle with that, and they want to hold things over them, finances, estates and things like that,
yeah,
trust,
of course.
and
playing games.
They want to hold things over them, like you have to do this or that. Boundaries are going to be really important, and you better figure that out before you have grandkids, because then there's another person in the mix. It's the significant other of your child, and they have no alliances towards you, or they, you know what I mean? So you have to, tread lightly if you want to maintain a good relationship with your grandkids and your child, and not put your child in a bad position.
Yeah.
And that means letting go. You have to let go.
Gotta let go.
You are no longer the authoritarian.
No.
And I think people struggle with that.
Once they become adults and fly the coop, that's it.
Yeah, they struggle.
It's a wrap.
Whereas, like, even my mom, she kind of did things her way. And I just couldn't, say anything. I'm like, oh, God, I don't want you to feed him that bottle still or whatever. And she's like, she wouldn't really she would do what she wanted to do. And I let it go because, she watched my kids for free for many years. I didn't make a big deal about it. I'm like, well, that's the price I pay. Like, she's going to do her thing. But I can tell you I won't do that with my kids. If like they're dropping them off like, hey, Mom, little Johnny Jr., I took away his pacifier. So no pacifier.
That's it.
And he's going to be grumpy about it. And I'd be like, all right, I wouldn't go. But my mom would have got him going, oh, yeah? She would have dipped that thing in some sugar, plugged it in, and says, don't tell your mom.
Right.
That would have been my mom.
Yeah.
And that was my mom. But I can tell you that as much as I love my mom, she did a lot of things right. There are certain things that I'm like, yeah, I definitely would not do that. I think that I'm curious, is there any grandparents listening to the show? What's your take on that? Do you feel like, well, at grandma and grandpa's house, everything goes? Now, I do want to say, I don't want to be the disciplinarian. I'm not trying to be the one to discipline and parent. I want to be a grandparent, fun grandparent.
Fun.
I want to do the fun things. That's when I have my most fun with my nieces. Is I don't care about your behavior and and if you shouldn't have more candy or whatever. It's like I do want to have a little bit of that. So it's a little bit of struggle.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to. I've already parented my kids. I don't want to parent again. I want to just be a grandparent.
You're done.
I want to be a grandparent. I want to be I want to be someone they want to come visit.
Yeah.
Or I can go pick them up and they'd be excited about it.
That's so true. Not be like, oh, Mom's gonna try to mother our child or something,
No, I know.
You have to be careful with that too.
Like my mom was not so bad. My mom was not so bad, and she was my mom, so it's like everything she said was gold. I felt like she was the baby whisperer. She knew so much about babies. But my mother-in-law, she was also a very powerful type A woman and wanted to kind of come in and control things. And I didn't like that at all. And again, as the significant other, it makes it more difficult for the child, right? So it's like, I'm not going to go overstep my boundaries with my future daughter-in-law. That's going to make it harder for my son, harder for me to build a relationship with my grandkids. It's like you've got to give them a little even extra leeway. Instead of being worse with them because they're not your child, it's your in-law, right? You need to give them make it extra easy for them, I think.
True.
I
agree.
I don't know. It's funny because I'll have to see, I just spent, a whole week in Alyssa's apartment, a tiny apartment with, her boyfriend was there and he works from home and we all work from home. It was very close quarters. And I think I'd like to say I'm easygoing and I make it easy and it's not.
You didn't cause no drama or uproar.
Oh no, I'm not drama. But I want to know from his perspective. If how sometimes you think that one thing, but then they're like, oh no, Mom, it's like you're a nightmare. I don't know.
Yeah. True.
I'd have to ask, but he's not going to be honest. But I make an effort to be easygoing.
Not difficult.
I try.
There's some in-laws from hell that make things difficult.
I don't want to be. My mom was not. I'll tell you this about my mom, my parents, actually, my dad too. They were not in-laws from hell.
No, they weren't. I could attest to that.
They were not like, they.
Even though we lived right by them, they didn't just pop up and check in or make things hard on us.
No, they never did that. They had boundaries on our privacy, which I liked. I don't know where that came from.
Yeah,
I'm surprised. I don't think those same boundaries would have been respected with every single child. I think that if Danny lived in that same house, my dad would have been popping up all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and been a little bit more not as respectful of the boundaries.
Yep, you're probably right.
So it's interesting. I think that it depends on the child.
True. Different dynamic.
I don't know. It's so interesting to think about. But I don't know. I definitely am looking forward to that phase of my life. But I'm also not... because we preach this all the time, I'm not living for that. It's like it's parked. My older years and grandkids and stuff, it's parked in the future, and I'm looking forward to it. But I'm also gonna enjoy the moment. Like, I'm in a really interesting part of my life that's it's my kids they're going on with their adult life, and I don't have grandkids yet. So I'm in this little selfish, romanticize my life, focus on our stuff kind of phase. And I want to enjoy it instead of always looking to the next thing. Don't you feel like we do that as humans a lot, which is a problem? We're always okay, we're here. Oh, I want to look to the next thing.
Of course.
The next thing.
Always. Instead of enjoying the moment. We're always looking to the next thing.
Yeah, it's like, oh, I got here. Now I'm going to go to the next thing.
Yeah. Live in the moment.
I'm really trying to spend more time staying in the moment.
Yeah. You have to, because they go by fast. Before you know it, that moment becomes a memory. Like, man, why didn't I enjoy that moment more? Like, for us staying in that cabin for that amount of time.
Oh, the best. I really made it a point to enjoy it.
Yeah, exactly. We're not going to get to enjoy that.
No.
Who knows when.
I think it'll always be a magical place because of that time for me. I just created a really good affiliation with that place that it'll always feel that way. And it's the beginning of a lot of time there, I think.
We're like part-time community. Members of that community.
I know. You're making friends all over town.
I am. Yes.
Yeah, it's crazy. All right, you guys, let's take a little break. We'll be right back. Hey, everyone. I'm all about making life easier while staying on track with your health and fitness goals. And that's why I love MegaFit Meals. MegaFit Meals is your go-to for macro-friendly meal prep that tastes amazing. Whether you're crushing your fitness goals or you just want a convenient way to eat clean and delicious meals, MegaFit has you covered. They've got everything from high-protein favorites to keto-friendly options and everything in between. Plus, the meals come perfectly portioned, ready to heat and eat, saving you time and stress. And the best part, you can save on your orders by using my code, JEANINE at checkout. Head over to megafitmeals.com and check it out. Don't forget to use my code, JEANINE, because when life gets busy, MegaFit Meals keeps you on track. I think an important thing that I want to point out about that transition to adult relationships is think about what your relationship is. If you still have children in your life, or they're not adult or not moved out, think about what that relationship is like and think how you can make it better when they become adults. You know what I mean? It's an opportunity to correct a lot of the mistakes maybe.
Yeah.
You know what's funny is
and it's sad because some adult children cut their parents off because their relationships weren't the best.
I know.
I know quite a few.
You know what's weird as a parent, though? It was kind of a weird epiphany that I had, thinking my parents were human. They're human. I don't know why as a kid you kind of think your parents are like they don't have feelings or they don't make mistakes. You just hold them in a different regard.
That they'll take care of everything.
They don't make mistakes and they're just the parents and they're perfect parents and they don't have a life outside of being a parent.
Yeah.
I think coming to the realization of oh my God, they have a whole life. Part of me realizing that was when my mom was in hospice and she was reminiscing a lot with friends that came to visit and stuff. And I was thinking oh my God, my mom had a whole life that had nothing to do with us as kids. As a child, you kind of think that their whole life is you or the kids.
You do think that, but
and they have friends and they have drama and gossip and stories and, you know, adventures that you don't even know anything about because they don't tell their kids everything.
No, true.
You think you know everything and you don't. It was kind of crazy.
They have their own privacy amongst them.
They have their own private inside jokes, their private things that they've done that we know nothing about.
Yep.
I don't know why I just like, it took me all those years to realize that. I was like, wow. But it also makes you realize like, oh my God, they're human, you know?
They're human.
And they make mistakes. And that's why, you know, to be honest, part of my decision to, you know, kind of re-enter the situation with my dad and all of that was me, you know, remembering that and thinking, remember that like they're human and there are these things that are, you know, not great that I don't like about, you know, him and when I think about things, but I gave a little bit of grace, enough grace to get me to go back a little bit, you know what I mean? But without the boundaries going down.
Yeah.
And I think more for me than him, to be honest, because there was a lot of good times as a child and he taught me a lot. I honestly think about a lot of the things I do in my life and the way that I am. And there are a lot of things that came from my dad. And I can't deny that. And it doesn't make me a narcissist because I'm not a narcissist, but there are a lot of things that came from his parenting and teachings. And I try to think about those in a positive way. And like, those are positive things that I do. My desire to figure things out, you know, to think everything is possible and all of that, you know?
Yeah, that's true. He did a lot of good stuff because you're one of those people who, instead of saying, this problem, you find solutions. You're resilient.
Yeah, that came from him.
Yeah,
definitely.
For sure. Be the best you can be.
And that's what I mean by like not, you know, to look at your, you know, because then when I think about giving them grace for their mistakes, it's because I want that.
Yeah.
I want the same grace. I'm not perfect. I've made mistakes. I'll continue to make mistakes. I'm not perfect. And I always want grace because to me, a non-negotiable is having no relationship with your kids, your grandkids, your in-laws. That's special. That's my unit. And you know what? I've just recently said this. If you're in my circle, like that's a special place to be because I'm very cautious about who's in there. And like, that's my unit, my kids, their significant others, and my grandkids. Like, don't mess with Grandma Bear. Grandma Bear is probably even worse than Mama Bear.
That's
you know?
Funny.
And it's ferocious. It could be ferocious, but it's a good thing, right? But that's why I like to think about that. I like to think about it now, even though it's evolving. You know, none of my kids are married. I have no grandkids, but I like to think about it now because it's important to me that it's good.
But you know it'll happen someday.
Yeah, of course. And as much as I love my parents and my mom, I hold her on like such high regard. There are also things about her that I see in me that I don't want to do. You know, she was kind of like, I wish I would have spent more time with her. I wish we would have been on more adventures together. I wish we would have traveled together. I wish I would have done more things when I got older. But she was, you know, a little bit of a homebody, and I am very much that person.
Yeah.
So I want to, you know, that's why like when I was in San Diego, like, yeah, like I just want to be on the couch working. But Alyssa's like, let's go to the dog beach. And I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's go to the dog beach.
Yeah, get out.
And I loved it. We had a good time. But it's like I have to remind myself, like, don't. Like, go do the things. And that's why I tell you, like, I want to create new traditions. And I have all these plans already for Christmas. And I want to have, like, the whole family together. And I want to do things. Like, we even talked about, like, you know what? I'll even put on a pair of freaking ski boots and try going on the bunny slopes or whatever. Just for the adventure, for the laughs, I'll probably pee my pants. But because I have to push myself to do those things. Because those moments, those are what makes the best memories is those kind of times.
True.
And I wish I would have had more with my mom.
Yeah.
So those are the things. That is how you think about your adult relationship with your kids, transitioning to a grandparent. Think about the things about your parents and upbringing that you want to bring into those relationships, and also think about the things you can learn from them and things that you can change. That's what I'm doing. I'm a work in progress because, listen, it might be a while. I don't know what it's going to be. Maybe Candidly with Coffee will be on episode like 1000, and I'll share it for sure. We'll talk about it for sure. All right, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the next one.
See you.